Broadcasting across the country and around the world, from Sin City in Las Vegas, Nevada, join Moose and PowerSerg as we prove that age is truly just a number and the best life is yet to come. Grab a seat, pour yourself a drink, and dare to live on 50 Shades of Great. Welcome to another episode, 50 Shades of Great, Dare to Live. I'm Moose. I'm accompanied here with PowerSerg, executive producer, co-host. Moose in the house. And today we're going to talk about relationships and dating. And no guest, you and I are just going to talk about, because here's the thing, as we go into later life and we hit the 50, stop looking at my legs. You know, this is...
Dude, we want to make sure the camera isn't seeing off your skirt.
Okay, so we had a little wardrobe malfunction.
I had it. I was straight. I wasn't laughing. I got it out of my system, and you had to bring it up.
Yeah, I wore shorts to the show
50
today.
50 shades of legs.
Yeah, there you go. 50 shades of very white legs here. So,
Moose in the house in the shorts.
Yeah, it's where it's at, man.
Hey, you know what? Most people after their teenage years don't wear shorts quite as much, but hey, you got it.
50 Shades of Great. I'm daring to live. Okay? I'm living my best life. And it involves cargo shorts.
I hope the camera is not able to see up the leg.
Well, no, it can't see because the shine off the top of your head is blinding me.
Right, baby. All right.
But we're talking about
relationships
and dating. And the thing that I like about it, Serge, we have a lot of great riveting guests that have been on in the last few weeks, and brought up a lot of things to think about that are going to lead us into the dating show, where we're going to have the dating contest that's going to come on. Jamie Date's going to come on and talk about professional dating and how to get back into that. So if you're recently single and you're trying to learn that dating game, it is tough. And the older we get, the tougher it's getting. Because I think not only dating at 50, the elements of our physical bodies change, our desires, our status, everything's changed from where we were, say, at 25.
And society judges men differently at 50 than at 25. I mean, the reality is, and I don't know if you follow Jamie's content. I do, and she's going to be a great guest. But if you look at her content is spot on. And one of the things that it talks about is that what makes men attractive to women is at 50 is different than what made men attractive to women at 25. It just is.
I think it goes both ways, though. With there's something that's been talked about a lot lately in the last few shows, and you've said it, Michael Sartain said it. We talked about, we alluded to it on the fitness and nutrition, and that is the target for the 50-year-old guy dating and who they're interested in dating. And I think that that is such a complex, large spectrum across the board. But one of the things that I've asked, when Michael Sartain walked out, I asked him, I've asked you, is what is the fascination with, I want to date someone 15 years younger? Why is that the prize? Why is that your trophy? Why is that the go-to, the end game? Because I don't agree. I mean, I dated 15 years younger. I married 15 years younger. And I tell you what, man, I don't know if it's a Gen X thing, if it's just I got tired.
When you're 30 and marrying somebody 15 years younger, that's a lot different than when you're 50.
Well, no, that's not. Yeah. That's not.
No. I'm kidding. But my point is,
to catch a predator here.
So I mean, I don't know. There's all the religious cults and everything. No, but the reality is, I can't speak for Michael Sartain. I don't know why some men want to date women who are in their 20s.
You
right?
do.
I can tell you why I want to date women in their 20s, why I tend to date younger. And it's not a question that they have to be in their 20s, but it has to do with a couple of things. Number one, I want to date somebody who is closer in what they want to me than not. Right?
So what is someone at 26 closer to what you want?
So when I say that is that one of the things, I have a very busy life, right? So I'm busy,
Right.
and I have a small pockets availability of where I can have fun and do other things other than work, right? So I need somebody who will be available when I need them to be available. I don't want somebody with young children because that complicates things. I honestly don't date women who are really attached to their pets. This will be controversial, right? I don't have any pets because I travel. I don't have any pets because I do other things, and pets, same as children, are responsibility. I'm happy. My son is grown. He's successful. I'm happy living for me for a change, and I want somebody who will fit into my lifestyle and kind of click in. And I don't know if she's going to be 50. I don't know if she's going to be 30. I don't know if she's going to be 20. But my experience, the women in their 50 are more set in their ways.
More set in their ways because there's a maturity issue.
There's a maturity issue. They're more, and they're just more difficult to date and more difficult to spend time with. And I will tell you, surprisingly, women, and I don't know about in their 50, right? A lot of them still have children that live with them. A lot of them are still, and it's strange, or they have little dogs they take care of, which I like children.
Okay, I guess it depends. What are you looking for?
Right? And I will tell you.
You're just looking for what?
That for men, it's not a question of a relationship being transactional. Because you know what? Transactional relationships are easier. They're easier because all you have to do is focus on transaction. I will tell you, as a businessman, we understand transactions much better than the opposite sex. To understand how women think, to understand what women want, even if they know what they want, oftentimes it's hard for us to understand. But most of the time, if you ask a woman what she wants, she'll tell you she has no idea, right? As men, we talk about, well, I need to figure out what women want. They don't know what they want. And so because of that, right, transactional relationships are absolutely easier, but it feels differently.
It does feel differently.
You want somebody who you enjoy spending time with. You want somebody who enjoys spending time with you, and she's there because she likes you and not what you can do for her, right? Because it feels differently.
Right.
So again, for me, I think the younger women and the younger women that I've gone out with versus the older women that I've gone out with. It also depends on maybe there's an older woman that's out here in Las Vegas that I will go out with and say, oh my God, she's exactly what I'm looking for. She's interested in the things I'm interested in. I like to go out. I like to go out to nightclubs. I like to stay up late. I like to party, right? I enjoy skydiving. I enjoy going to the racetrack and driving exotic cars at high speeds, right? And if I found an older woman who is interested in the same things I'm interested in, a poker player, right? Somebody who'll smoke cigars with me,
right,
who'll drink with me, right? Who'll go out to dinner with me, who loves my cooking. If I found an older woman who has a zest where the interaction adds energy instead of takes away energy, I will absolutely go out with them.
Tell you what is a huge turnoff to me. Mm-hmm. Like there's a lot of, oh, look at those beautiful women and fake lips, fake nose, lashes the size of like the shears that my barber uses. I mean,
those lashes are really a thing.
Dude, it bothers me.
The lashes.
It just bothers me. It's like, it's immediate turnoff. It's like
Ladies,
I'm not a foot guy.
Send lashes to the Moose Man. We're going to have you know what? We're going to have a line of lashes.
Line of lashes. Oh my God. Yeah, no.
You're going to get postcards with just lashes.
But the fakeness to me, like I understand women doing stuff to themselves to feel more confident, right? Mm-hmm. Like a breast augmentation. That's good. You know, you do like a large C, small D, but dude, like triple Z boobs. It's ridiculous. It's not attractive. The lip, she can't even, that's not attractive to me. And so, you know, you might be 28, have this hot body that was sculpted by Dr. 90210 with these big, you know, Botoxed lips, this nose that looks like Michael Jackson, you know, on his third freaking face restructure. To me, it's just gross. I'm just not attracted to it. And the natural way to do things, you know, I say it like this, is I clearly want something different. Back in the day when I was in my mid 20s, 30s, you know me, man, I was all over the place. Party like a rock star. But Now, dude, I just want peace. And my peace is not
Is wearing cargo shorts.
is wearing cargo shorts to the podcast. But no, my peace is somebody who can share those experiences with me and understand me and get me and allow me to be me. Because here's the thing, as men, we have, Michael said, burden of performance. Okay. I'm just telling you, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of having to be the one to buy, to be the one to, provide, to be the one to. My entire life, I can go through the relationships of the hottest people that I've dated or married or whatever, and it was such a one-sided relationship. And so for me, I mean, I'm fortunate right now. I feel like I hit the jackpot, right? My girlfriend's hot. She's fun. She has.
So let's ask the question. How old is she?
She's my age. She's 48 years old.
She's yours.
48 years old. Yeah.
Okay.
But here's the difference. And this is what I came to. And just follow me for a minute and see if you can go with this. I understand to a certain extent the other side of this argument. So I'm kind of bullshitting a little bit here, right? I'm trying to make my point because I understand that part of the 28-year-old, 30-year-old. I mean, for me, my daughter's 26.
But she doesn't have to be 28.
No, I mean, just follow me on this point for a second. So for me, it's with a 26-year-old daughter and seeing all her friends and watching them grow up. It's weird to me a little bit. I still have that kind of weirdness for that age because I feel like that's my kid and I know these kids. I grew up with these kids and can't imagine ever dating one of these kids, right? But let's say even 35, okay? What we have as we get older is the need to feel that masculinity. And when a woman is not experienced, when she hasn't been places, when she hasn't been exposed to a lot of things, you have the ability to introduce her and take on that masculine role. And doing that builds us up and it makes us feel good. And I get it, but I'm of it.
Fine.
Does it make sense though?
It does. But I think also that we're focusing too much on age. So the reality is that I can't speak for other men. What I can tell you is, in my experience, number one, I have to be attracted to the woman that I'm with, right?
Check.
And I do want to feel sort of happy or proud because I will say that women that are with us are social capital that increase our standing, our stature in the world.
But again, it depends on what your end game is. What are you shooting for?
But you go to your corporate, in day job, we have corporate jobs, right?
Correct.
In our corporate jobs, when you go to your company party and your wife is a model, right? Men look at you differently. I don't know why that is. Like, we can talk about the sociology of it is, right? But we always think that the most successful guy is the guy who's going to have the best looking girls, who's going to drive the nicest car, who's going to have the nicest watch. And that's just the way life is.
And she's batshit crazy. So you have that a bit, and I'm telling you because I've been there. Like, what is your? But that's the whole thing. Is what is the end goal? Is it nice to have her on your arm? Yeah, absolutely. Wow, look at him. He really scored. Yes, no, of course. But that emulates what society sees as that masculinity. But truly, that masculinity, it makes us feel like we're somebody, we have status, and that we're something, is the ability to introduce her to those new experiences. I'll give you an example. And this is where I think I got the unicorn. I hit the jackpot, right? So my girlfriend was in a relationship 27 years. So I guess you could technically take 27 years off of what she is now because she was in that single relationship. And the thing, I guess, that I'm lucky on, and the thing that kind of makes this come full circle is that in that relationship, they never traveled anywhere. They never really did anything. Her daughter was in cheer. So the whole extent of any travel other than like going to the desert and riding motorcycles, which she hated anyway, was going to cheer competitions. Since her and I met, I've taken her to New York. I've taken her to Miami. I've taken her, she flies first class. And so I'm going to give you that on the age thing. And I appreciate that because you kind of broke that down for me because she kind of, on the experience level, is a 30-year-old. Yeah.
Well, and so it also is combination, right?
And then I feel great because I'm providing these things. I'm introducing her. My masculinity is enhanced.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is so one of the questions you asked is why are the red pill guys so obsessed with age? Well, it's for number one, they teach you that women with a smaller body count is less likely to cheat on you. Because they really believe in monogamy, or at least monogamy from the girl side. The other thing too is they're also focused on being able to bear children, right? So younger women have longer time to have kids. So a lot of the guys who are really interested in having kids, right, who might not have had successful marriages, which with children, even though they're older and they want to have kids, they've got to date younger women, right?
Yeah.
So it just depends what you're looking for. I will tell you that what's important to me is different than what's important to some red pill guys. I personally don't want to date somebody who is in the nightclub industry, right? I don't want to date somebody who's right. So what's important to me is I want to be able to have a conversation with somebody, right? At the same time, I want her to have the flexibility to travel. So maybe I'm just not looking old enough where the children are grown and their careers are set. So maybe what I really need is a peer like myself, right? Who is in her 50s, who is attractive, who we have good sexual chemistry, because that's important.
Right.
And at the same time, she's not set in her ways where she'll click into my life, which is busy and other things. Because I think at 53, I'm a little selfish. I'm a little self-absorbed. I'm a little bit focused on my career more than I am on other things. Because at this point, I can be a little bit more adventurous, right? Because my son is grown, taken care of. I have 2 ex-wives, but my first wife was my age.
I was waiting for you to take a shot at me.
I do. Well, okay, I'm sorry. It's not. Is it my fault that you have 4 or 5 ex-wives?
I don't know.
I wasn't even taking a shot at you. No, my first ex-wife was my age. She was an amazing woman. Right, she's an amazing woman. She's very smart. When I met her, I married the love of my life, right? And I met somebody who was compatible to me in a way that I've never seen before. My second ex-wife, I married for looks, really. But at the same time, she was an amazing woman, very different than me, right?
Very different than your first wife.
Very different than my first wife. Very positive.
So you had a different end goal.
Yes. And ultimately, this is where I'm at. And ultimately, for us, what sort of drove us apart, I think, is the fact that she wanted more of a traditional family. And this is the risk you take. The risk you take when you date somebody younger is they want a more traditional family. They want children. They want to have that family experience because they've never had it before, right? I've had that experience. I don't need to have more children. I don't need to have a traditional marriage, right? I think that living in separate places is actually a benefit to relationships, right? I think living together is very stressful. I think living together introduces issues that don't need to be introduced, right? I would love to find somebody who I can be happy with when we're together and who leaves me alone when we're apart. I know this is controversial, but that's what I need. My peace is that when I'm by myself or if I'm focusing on something, I need to be left alone. I can't have 15 phone calls, which sometimes with younger girls, sometimes they're a lot needier. Yeah. Right?
Well, I mean, look at our professions. Like we were in security, law enforcement, military. So we have that like always need to be like we always out to save people. And my whole thing is I noticed that like I can honestly say, and this is going to sound narcissistic, but whatever, is I literally am looking back and I cannot find one relationship where I did what you said, the airplane method, is put my mask on first.
Yes.
And I allowed it to get away from me, and all the relationships got away from me to where nobody ever made close to the money I made. Nobody ever brought anything to the table. Every house that any woman's ever lived in with me is my fucking house. It's always been so lopsided. And then it gets away from me. And then as things start to get bad, I just don't want to deal with it anymore. There's nothing to save anymore. Now we're on this unfair, equal playing field, and I lose. And then they say, well, I'm entitled to this. I'm entitled to that. I get this. I get that. and then it sends me to spiral. So I just, you know what? I just retract. I walk away from it. And, so it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate to my current girlfriend, right? Because you're getting it when you're getting in a relationship with a guy who's 50 years old, 45 to 55. You got to realize is that just like we say that there's a lot of damage on the women, there's a lot of damage with us. There's a lot of things that have been done to us, for us, about us for so long, but we've never taken care of us. And so I think the key in a relationship, and it doesn't matter if she's 30 or 50, but if she can bring you that piece where she respects the fact that, you know what, oh my God, it's not about me, like marriage. I'm at a point, yes, I've had 4 marriages and divorces. I'm at a point, I think marriage is bullshit. I don't believe in,
How do you really feel, Bobby?
That's how I feel. Because you know what? It's so slated, not in all cases, but it's so slated against the man. It is a 100% insurance policy. In my situation, it's been an insurance policy and a payoff for the woman because I brought so much more to the table. And then when you get to that point, I tell you what, the last 2 marriages, I got to the point where I wanted to do the prenup. Oh my God, you don't really love me. You just leave me hanging, blah, blah, blah. And then you know what? I fold because you know what? And I won't go in for the privacy of them, for those who know them, but there were definitely issues involved that you personally know that these people needed in their life that I brought to them. And even after all of that. So that's what I'm done. And unfortunately, the point I was getting at is my girlfriend now, I'm not getting married. I'm done. I'm done signing a piece of paper saying, if this doesn't work, you get all my shit. I'm done. I'm tired of it. Now, she brings a lot more to the table, than in the past. I mean, in the past, the last 2 didn't even have jobs, didn't have jobs, didn't have status, didn't have anything.
Well, so here's the thing. In some ways, what I say is a contradiction, right? Because I say that I tend to date younger women, and at the same time, I don't want somebody who's looking for marriage, for stability, for all those things. So in reality, younger women, I think, are more apt to look for those things than a woman who's in her 50s, who's had her career, who is successful financially, right? Who's maybe had a divorce and a successful divorce, right? And did well in her divorce. And so maybe dating somebody older would make more sense for me, right? And I just struggle with making connections with older women who sometimes say they don't want to put up with my shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, I will say something about divorce. And yes, it isn't fair. And personally, I'm not getting married again.
And why is it expensive?
Because it's worth it. Personally, I don't think I'm getting married again. Right? I don't think I'm getting married again. I don't see any, just like you, I don't see any benefits to getting married financially. I don't see any benefits to getting married emotionally, or I don't really know what marriage brings for the man.
It's, you know what? The marriage is, it doesn't, no. And it's, it's a religious thing anyway.
Yes.
But marriage itself is a religious thing. A civil union where you're making a commitment to people, it's a business transaction. And that's what, you realize that. I realized when I went back to school to get my MBA, as a marriage is just a business contract. It's a business transaction. So you're going into this business transaction, you're giving all of these, like literally, if you took marriage off the table and you put it into an MBA class, and you said, here, look at this business transaction and how this is going through. She's going to get a car. She's going to get a house. That's a shitty business deal. There's nobody who would make them push to get married without a prenup.
Yeah, I'm going to find somebody who advocates marriage and get them on the show.
I actually have somebody.
Because I'd love to talk about why marriage makes sense. That being said, so I will say, and I've said this on dates. I've said this on first dates, that I have zero interest in getting married again. And sometimes women sort of come at me. But I will tell you this, and this is something that we can talk to our listeners, right? Is that number one, you have to know who you are. You have to know what you're looking for, right? And I have been on dates, and I have said, look, honestly, I have zero interest in marriage, right? And women sometimes push at that. And I will say that I've said this. Lots of men have said this, and I have a friend who I had this conversation with. He was married, I think, for 8 or 9 years, very difficult marriage. They wanted to have kids. They couldn't have kids. They finally got divorced. And I remember him sitting with me at a bar saying, there's no fucking way I will ever get married. And he starts dating somebody. Now she's younger. She's, I think, 12 years younger than he is, right? Start dating. And then one day I get a wedding invitation from him. And I call him.
Was that me?
I go, that wasn't you. No, because you don't send me wedding invitations. You know what you do?
We're not allowed to play in the sandbox.
You disappear. And then I have to find out. And then when you come
That's
back.
what I'm saying. I can't be me.
But when you come back, why did you disappear? Oh, because you got into another relationship and you didn't want to hear it from me.
I know.
And you knew what I was going to say.
I didn't want to hear the truth. I didn't want to hear the truth.
But listen. So anyway, so I get away. So I call the guy. I go, you told me a year ago there's no way I'm getting married, and here's a wedding invitation. What happened? And he says, look. He says, I get it. And he said, I started dating somebody. We have a great relationship, and she doesn't bug me. She's not annoying, right? We've been together for a year. We haven't had as much as one fight, right? And I realized that I'm dating a woman who hasn't annoyed me, who hasn't bored me, and who hasn't yelled at me.
Right.
And then one day he says, I wake up early in the morning. No, and he says, I wake up, and he said, I still had no interest in marriage. And one day I wake up early in the morning and I look at her sleeping next to me and I realize that I never want to wake up again without having her next to me. And I asked her to marry me that same day.
There you go.
And I was like, what the fuck?
Well, no, this is the thing, Serge, is that's the piece. And that's what I'm talking about.
It's spending time together that gives you energy versus sucks it away from you, right? And so, yeah, the reality is that, well, I'll ask you a question. You've been married, what, 4 times, 5 times?
Well, clearly.
It's clearly. Right before you got married, in those times, did you ever think, I might be making a mistake?
All 4 times.
So here's the thing. If we have to wonder, hey, is this really a good idea or not? Maybe it's not a good idea.
It's not a good idea.
So what I'm doing in my 50s is different than what I did in my 20s and 30s, right?
As it should be.
Now, in my 40s...
Because we're maturing.
I was married, I was raising my kid, stuff like that. What I'm doing now, in my 50s, right, is different than I did before. So now I'm living with fuck yeah. So if something isn't fuck yeah, and I'm having doubts, I don't do it. So that's the rule. If I ever meet somebody where being married to her makes so much sense that I don't even have to wonder about it, then maybe I will get married again.
Yeah.
I just don't think that woman exists. And I will tell you, somebody who's dated quite a bit, right? There's a chance that the woman that I'm imagining that is my perfect woman doesn't exist, right? It could be.
But it doesn't. It doesn't. And I firmly believe that our spectrum opens up as we get older. And there's more that completes that rainbow or circle or triangle, whatever you want to do, whatever analogy you want to use. But there's different levels of that spectrum to fill in those colors and make them more defined. And this is what I tell you is, again, let me just say the truth. Okay, I'm 6'3". Now I'm a little pudgy, but I'm 6'3". I drive a BMW.
I wear cargo shorts.
I'm not ugly. I wear cargo shorts. I make over 6 figures. I'm telling you, just based on that, which is shallow as fuck, it's not hard to get laid.
No, it's not hard to get laid.
I travel for a living, targeted. Half the women that talk to me when I tired as shit getting off the plane, sitting at the bar, have wedding rings on. I mean, it's just that game, Serge. I am just so over it. And I think a lot of guys, I know that there is, but there's a lot of guys who have been through these relationships and always been the provider and the hero. And I just want some peace. And my peace is, like I said with you, the golfing, the concerts, those are so big to me because even outside of the sex, you were alluding to something. And don't get me wrong, the sex is great, but those bring us together on another level of intimacy.
I think that's important.
Intimacy is more important than physical sex.
Well, so
intimacy comes from, comes from that true feeling of this is my person. But I don't believe in the perfect woman or man, and I don't believe in soulmates. I think it's bullshit.
I don't believe in soulmates either. What I do believe is that people who are compatible for you, and I'm not necessarily saying that sort of random casual sex is the answer to all things, right? It's an answer to some
But
problems.
just the dating scene in general is exhausting.
So here's the thing. It depends on who you are and how you come across. I love dating.
You do love dating.
I am an extrovert. I love going out.
Can I talk about the code names? I mean, I know we got to wrap here, but can I talk about the code names?
No, we'll save that for the show. We have experts on. We're gonna have Jamie Date on, who is a relationship or a dating expert. We're gonna have a relationship relationship expert on. We're gonna have a psychologist on who's gonna talk about what relationships are. So we're gonna talk about all those things, right?
Right.
The reality is this: we need to find people who are compatible with who we are and what we like, and who are easy to be around, right? The main reason why I date women who tend to be younger is they're just simply easier to be around. And I don't know why that is.
Yeah.
Right? You got to ask some of the older women that question. But the reality is, if you're easy to be around and you're easy to date and there's no games and there's no playtime, like there's no, when I say games, I mean like the negative games.
Right.
Right?
The toxicity.
The toxicity of gamingship, right? Where literally you are who you are, you know what you want, and you are compatible with what I want, then great. And my experience is the women in their 50s are just more difficult to be around. And I'm sorry if that's controversial, and I'm sorry how that sounds, right? But yeah, if I went out with somebody who I couldn't wait to be with again, then absolutely I'm going to be in a relationship.
Well, you know what, Serge? You bring up a good point too, and then we'll wrap up.
I don't care
here.
how old she is.
Well, let me change this around. If I didn't, rock out with my cocktail out and party like a rock star and have that lifestyle, for so many years of my adult life, let's say I was in a long-term marriage of 25 years and then I'm getting out of it. And now I didn't get to party. I didn't get to club. I didn't get to do all of those things. I wasn't a morning drive shock jock on the radio and having, women just give their number by hearing a voice, not even seeing my face. I mean, I got to experience a lot of cool shit.
Let's help.
Right? But the bottom line is men in their 50s need to, number one, take care of themselves. They need to put their mask on first before they put it on others. And they need to figure out in relationships and in dating women, what is the peace? What's going to bring you peace to where you're okay at the end of the day? And like you said to your friend's story, you wake up and you're like, that's the person I want to be with. That's my somebody.
Well, and by the way, some of our listeners are married, right? So what makes a successful marriage? Like I can't speak to that. We're going to have to find a marriage expert, talk about that. So I don't know what makes a successful marriage in your 50s.
Yeah.
Right? I'm single.
Failure.
I'm dating. Yeah. Multiple times, right? I'm single. I'm dating, right? But what makes me happy, and the other thing too, is that if you ask, and we'll have an episode on monogamy, right? But if we ask guys in their 50s who have kids, who have wives, are you truly happy? A lot of times the response you get is, well, I'm not unhappy.
Right.
And life is too short to be not unhappy.
Well, you know what? And that's what I want to do. So I do have a guest that I'm going to reach out to. He's a published author. He's an educator and a proponent of a strong Christian guy, very proponent of monogamous marriage. So it'll be interesting to bring him on. Well, I know, but it'll be very interesting to bring him on to get that perspective and that point of view.
I'm curious what he'll have to say.
But anyhow, that's what we were talking about. Obviously, very different opinions on a lot of different things. But I think what we did is come to consensus here that dating in your 50s is tough. It's not easy. And there are a lot of things you've got to do. But the number one key that I'm going to tell you from my failures that Serge is talking about here is you've got to put the mask on yourself first and then take care of other people. Because if you don't know what you want, there's no way that anybody else can get you there.
And you have to also give yourself permission to not know what you want, right? To try it out. Right, to go out with somebody and say, and there are women who I've talked to, right? There are women who I've talked to on dating platforms where their first question, well, what is it that you're looking for? I don't know. Right now, I'm looking for somebody to have dinner with on Friday. Right now, I want somebody who will go who I want to dance with.
Fair
right
enough.
on Tuesday on Industry Night at Omnia at 11:30 at night, and wait till Paulie D comes off at 1:30 from the Jersey Shore. right? Who wants to hang out with me and have a good time. That's what I'm looking for right now. And sometimes that changes. Other weekends, I'm looking for something different. There's a new Game of Thrones, right, that came out. I love having somebody with me that I can binge watch television with.
There
right?
you go. I mean, Game of Thrones.
So whatever you might,
Whatever floats your boat.
Whatever floats your boat.
So the bottom line is, look inside, figure out what's going to make you happy. And there's a lot of things going on in our lives right now, especially at 50, that some of it you can't see. And some of those problems and those issues, it's okay not to be okay. And maybe before you get back into this dating scene, maybe you need to reach out and get some help and find out why we do things we do. And I'll tell you, you hit the nail on the head, and this is what I'll close with, is I don't know exactly what I want, but I can tell you the person that I'm with right now is providing it.
That's awesome.
Does that make sense, though?
No.
I don't know what I want, but it's being fulfilled.
And I love that for you, right? And ultimately, I love the fact that you found the person, right? And in some ways, I'm maybe a little envious, right? But in other ways, maybe I'm not, right? It just all depends. And so we have to give ourselves permission to date, to be who you are, not to be embarrassed. The fact if you see somebody who's younger and want to go out with her, right? And we have to give yourself permission to dare to live, right? To live our best life. And your best life might look a lot different than my best life.
We all have a different end goal.
Absolutely.
And we all have different experiences going through. So this has been very interesting, eye-opening. We're going to have guests coming on in the next few weeks, like you said, about dating, and we'll talk about relationships. We'll get the other side of the coin, somebody who's very happy on the other side of not dating and being in that long-term relationship. And interesting. Regardless, it's interesting to talk about it. And when you're not talking about it, you don't find out about it, you don't get the answers. That's where we make stupid decisions like get married 4 times. Anything you want to say before we close here?
Dare to live.
Dare to live. We're going to go live the best day of our lives. You go live yours.
The show doesn't stop there. Join the movement. On IG, 50 Shades of _great. Or go to our website, 50shadesofgreat.com.